We are thrilled to be here at the 2016 Galway Downs International. This year's course, Ian has put together a bigger challenge than ever, I think. We have a slightly smaller field than last year. Ian, last year you were under a lot of pressure because we had an Olympic qualifier, and funnily enough, Philip Dutton went on to win a bronze medal after making his trip all the way out here and jumping your course. What were you thinking about this year? It's after the games, a little smaller field, and don't have that challenge in front of you.
Well, it's always tricky, Olympic year, because we're running after the games, and a lot of riders have done all their qualifications, and if they didn't run at the Olympics, they want to run as close as possible. So we haven't got people coming over from the East Coast this time, but so we haven't got so many riders. The biggest challenge we've had, though, is as the owner of the property has quite magnificently to put a lot of the dirt down to grass, and so he's sown away some grass seed, and it's looking amazing, but it's quite challenging in that the grass is now soccer pitches, so we've got to be careful where we go and not try and go right through the middle of the soccer pitches. So we're trying to go around them and negotiate the course, and we're a little bit onto going from grass to dirt to grass, and I know that some of the riders were concerned about that, but about 3 or 4 weeks ago I came here and I had a look at the new layout, and we did some tweaking of the course, and I got onto one of Aaron Kellerhouse's horses and put studs in, and I had a gallop around on the grass and had a really good feel for what it was going to be like, and I was able then to sort of email people and say, I think actually they've done a brilliant job here, and it should be good, but it's been a challenge for us getting the course ready, and it's obviously a big question mark for some of the riders what the footing is going to be like, but so far I'm pretty impressed with it.
I tell you, when we see what Ken Smith has done, this is an oasis. I mean, it is magnificent. The new cantina, the riders are going to love the parties there, but the work and the infrastructure and the gardens, just the plantings. I mean, so many, some of your fences that are now fixtures, this is your 9th year, and there's some things that are fixtures on the course, but they've really been just decorated beautifully with the different gardens around them.
Yeah, it's been fascinating over the years watching the progression of the place, because, it was just dirt everywhere, and we put some fences out there, and then Ken's come along and he's planted some trees and some shrubberies, and it's just transformed the whole setup, and now with the grass as well, he's got probably more than half of the area down to grass now. If he does the rest, it's a completely different venue, but it has transformed the venue, and it looks magnificent, but it's created its challenges, but it's also created its highlights.
Well, we're going to take a look. 24 numbered efforts, 37 jumping efforts all told, several new things, and we're going to walk through with Ian and see what his thoughts were. You've warmed them up with those first 3 fences, really got them galloping out of the center of the track there. But this is the first question on the course. So you very specifically, you've changed it a little bit this year. What was your thinking?
Well, it worked quite well the last couple of years, this fence, and it's quite a question for fence 4, but we had an old fallen tree here. Well, it sort of disintegrated and fell apart, so I put in this sort of fan effect, so the more the horses take off to the right, then it's a friendlier profile, but then it makes a bigger angle to the B part at the bottom. If they come to the left, where it's much more upright, they need to be quite committed off the turn, and then go left of this element to the right of the B element is quite a committed 2 stride. So the riders have the choice. If they don't get a great stride to this and they get bit up and down, they can hold on and wait for the 3. But for me, if they want to have a good round, a good flow around the course, they should be committed here and get here on 2. I think that'll set them up for the rest. If they get a bit of a messy jump here, it puts you on the back foot. You'd start to think backwards instead of keeping committed, and you know, my courses tend to be a bit committed anyway, so this is going to make or whatever the whole round for them.
Well, it certainly has to be said that you're known for forward riding, bold forward riding, although there are some that would say maybe you should be committed.
Well, that's debatable. I think my wife and children probably think that as well, but there you go.
Well, here we are, the first of Ken's oases out here, and you've checked the buttons there. They can be bold and committed on the 2 strides coming in at 4, going down the hill. And now you've got a brand new question. This is a turning question. You've given them some options and a signature Stark ground line, I think. This has to be your classic. All right, but you very clearly have a plan in mind.
Yeah, what I want them to do ideally is to come up and be square onto this angled rail in front of the ditch, which means the further left they go, the bigger the ditch. But I want them to jump across the palisade, turn inside the trees, and then it's 6 strides to a repeat question with the ditch getting wider to the right, another palisade. But they have got the choice. If they can't make this angle and tight turn, they can go around all these trees and waste time, or they can go through the middle of them and jump the little novice fence and then go to that. That's just considered a hazard rather than a technical jump. But equally, if they were to trip up over it and fall off, they'd still be eliminated. Right. So it's an added risk. But it's all about they've got to be accurate and bold here. The horse has got to be brave, but they can save seconds. And it's definitely measured on the tight inside line. So, you know, if they go out, they're wasting precious seconds, and that will tell at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Well, a beautiful, beautiful effort, and really nice to see this sort of first question come up like this.
Yeah, I'm quite pleased with it. You know, I sort of thought about it, and then Bert Wood, the builder, you know, he had the idea, and then I came back and I changed the ditch a little bit. It was a square-on ditch, and then I said, let's angle the ditches so that it encourages the riders to take a better line.
Yeah, that's great. Well, the ground jury took a good look at this one earlier today. They really did. They walked up, they walked down, but you've created a berm out of nowhere. It was slightly different though last year. What did you do this year that was? Well,
last year we had the second element, the B element, was a big chicaner, and they had to jump that and land on a downhill ramp, and then they went 4 strides down to a brush corner. This year I've changed the shape of the approach, so it's more of a sort of hump in front of what we put here as a chicaner. So it's a bit of a surprise to the horses. They won't see it until they're right at the top there. But if they come over the hump that way, then the horse will be in the right shape to jump the fence, and then 3 strides to an elephant trap, a triple bar over another big ditch, and then they land on the downhill ramp. So it's about the bravery of the horse here. It's not that technical, but it's all about, I think the riders just have to keep the momentum going, and the horses have to trust the riders that it's safe. But they might be a little surprised by the ditch when they don't see it till the last second. But it's all about jumping into the unknown, and really the training and the relationship between the horse and the rider. Does the horse trust the rider that it's safe to go? The fence isn't that difficult. If this was in the middle of a field, you just think nothing of it. But because it's on the top of a mound, it looks a little bit more intimidating, a bit scary. And that's what I like to do. Frighten the you-know-what out of them.
Well, it does say, I think it sets them up. Isn't there a big oxer over a ditch after the next single effort after this? So you don't have anything in combination with the elephant trap here, but they're galloping on to that big oxer, is that right?
They're galloping onto a big oxer, and then it's the first water, and that's quite a serious combination there. So this is a sort of lead into it, as it were. But again, the horses have got to stay confident, and so it's all about the riders keeping that forward rhythm. And then we'll see how we get on at the first water.
Kick, kick, kick. Jump number 10. Now, you've said you've really been building to this. It's been quite intense, this first part of the course. We might let off a little bit later, you said. But man, this really does. What you've asked them to do coming up to this is really for this effort. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's been quite intense till now. And this first water is pretty serious, I think. But it's very much an attacking combination. And I think once they get through this, then we back off a little bit and give them a bit of a breather, and then more intensity later on. But here we've built up this bank, and they've got to take off from the mound, jump this hanging brush that's on an angle, and then on the landing side we've given them a bit of a ramped landing, so they're not dropping straight into water. When I got here, the drop was straight into water, but it was actually well over 2 meters, so it was an illegal drop. And also I felt it would have been too punishing for the horses landing, because they hit the flat ground and get ugh. And so here we've given them a ramped landing, so it's encouraging them to be brave enough on the approach. And then they've got 3 strides to the double brush in the water, and then coming out of the water they've got a bending 4 strides to a right hand brush corner. So this is going to happen very sort of frantically and quickly, and I think it's tempting for the riders to be accurate for the 2 skinny brushes to come into the first element thinking a little backwards, but they can't, because it really needs attacking this. So they need to be bold and then accurate, and so the big drop riders will be in long reins and little bit knitting going everywhere, but then they've got to rely on the horses to stay straight, and they've just got to steer them in the way they're going to go. They've got no time to make adjustments in there. It's really just going to happen quickly. If they don't want to jump this A element, or if it goes wrong, we've given them a way out, a very time-consuming alternative, and then they have to jump B and C. But yeah, you're right. We've sort of built up to this, but I think from the beginning to here it's quite intense, and there's a lot of jumping. But it's a 3-star, and it's a qualifier for Rolex 4-star, so it has to be up to standard, and I think it is, as far as I'm concerned. It's on the upper half rather than the lower half of 3-star.
And the first of 3 water jumps all the way around, so nobody's had a chance to get their feet wet yet, so they really does require bold riding.
This is the first time I get their feet wet, but because of the ramp landing, they're not jumping directly into water, but it's all related to water, and so that's in the rider's psyche, and and it can also affect the horses. So, but they've got to be pretty gutsy here. There's no room for the wimpy.
let up, not much, but a little let up after the water. You had the oxer and that new combination, the one stride on the angle to that brush.
Yeah.
And then they've come into the infield, had a good gallop over the steeplechase fence. But holy camole, Batman. I mean, I'm not very tall anyway, but this is a drop. All right, you clearly had a vision.
Yeah, well, vision, I'm not sure about that. Some people might think I've gone completely nuts, but there was, after that lap, first water, there's 4 jumping efforts, but it is very gallopy, and so it's a bit of a let-up. Horses are sort of confident, they're getting flowing again, and then I wanted this leaf pit drop. It's just a big drop off, but they land on the downhill, and then they've got the B element there that at the moment it looks like 2 rails. It is actually going to be with brush sticking out the tops. It's going to be a hanging brush over a big ditch, and then 4 strides to a triple brush at sea. So again, they've got to be brave enough to jump off this, and then they've got to be bold and accurate. So it's asking every emotion from the horse and from the rider indeed. And you know, quite often these sort of relatively straightforward drops, but it is when you stand up there, it's a long way down here, and sometimes riders try and be quiet off the drop, and then the horses hesitate and they end up with a stupid 20 penalties. They've got riders that got to be quite punchy and positive off here, and then just keep the flow around the rest. But yeah, it's something different, and it's something new here. So and it's always good to find a new bit of ground and you think, oh, I could use that, and this is what we'll do. And you know, I get quite inspired about it, but I get inspired. The riders might think otherwise. We'll see.
Well, your words are ringing in my ears from 4. They really, if they want to set off on this course, they need to be bold and accurate from the get-go. So here we are.
Yep, and we're not finished yet.
16 ABC, a little different than last year. A real bending line here. Whole different question. We've been attacking and attacking. We're just past the midway point of the course, but you're asking a whole different question, I think, here.
Yeah, what I like to do is see horses being opened and closed in their frame and their gallop, and lengthen and shorten their stride. And so here the moat, which, you know, with the water ditches underneath them, I've got 3 open corners that are all frangibly pinned, so they're all collapsible if things go wrong. And really, it's about being more collected, more together, more accurate, and there's a choice between A and B of 4 or 5 strides, but for me, if they go on 4, they're never going to get to the final element around the corner. So what I'm hoping is that they shorten after the American flag fence, they shorten the horses up, and then it's ride the line. And they very much need to ride this line to come under the tree here and get 5, not big bold strides, but 5 strides keeping the horses together, and then get onto the line to the B element. And then the third element, which is 17, is a separate number. And the reason it's a separate number is if they, instead of getting 5 here, they get 4, then they'll end up jumping away to the left and they'll never get back to 17. So I've allowed them to circle, waste time, and come back to 17 if they're going too fast. But really, they should walk the course and say, if I get 5 here, I'm on line to 17, and I've just got to make sure I'm a little bit set up for the whole question. And so I want them to be short and light on their feet and focused, and the horse is listening to the riders. If the riders have a rush of blood to the brain here, it'll all go wrong and they'll get 20 and they'll be galloping home.
Really using, there's so many skills that you all have as course designers, so many things that you can put in to ask these questions, but certainly the separate number, being protective with the frangible pins, being conscientious about that, but also asking the question.
Yeah, I think very much you got to ask the question. If they're going to win, they're going to go straight through here on whatever striding they like, but they're going to have to go the direct route. But the main thing for me is if as I said, if they go on 4 strides here and they're way to the left, what I didn't want to make was a C element, because in that way the riders would have pulled their horses round and then they'd have tried to jump it when they were completely on the wrong line and out of balance. And so by giving it a separate number, I stopped them doing a silly movement there, and it gives them the chance to just waste a few seconds and not get 20 penalties.
Really clever. We'll see what happens. Well, any rider who has ever been to Galway Downs before will think they've come to Wonderland. What Ken Smith has done to this field, from just when you turn in, it is transformed. It's beautiful. I know you had a gallop on it. You were a little worried about the footing. Our riders have come from the moats. They've galloped over the big table down there in the corner and come around to this. Their eyes have to be popping out of their head. What did you think when you galloped around?
Well, I was a bit concerned that it would feel very firm after the dirt, but it actually gave a really good feeling. And what was interesting for me was the horse relaxed and opened his stride, and I had studs in the shoes already, and I wanted to see what it was like. So I had a nice quiet canter, and then I had a good gallop, and I galloped round the turns to see what it was like. And there was no slip, and there was a lovely print of each footfall, so it felt lovely actually. And since then, we've not cut the grass at all in the last few weeks, so it's got a little thicker cushioning for the horses, and we've done some aggravating and vertidraining, and we've watered and watered and watered, so it is actually lovely footing here. And if it breaks down, or it doesn't stay turfy looking, then it'll be a little bit sandy, so it's not going to get bottomless, and it's not going to be hard, so it should give the similar feeling to the dirt. So I think Ken's done an amazing job. It looks beautiful, and the guys have done everything they could to water and get it right.
Now this combination, a little different coming in than last year?
Yeah, this is probably of the 3 water combinations, for me this is the softest in a way, but you come over the lip downhill and you've just got 1 stride down the hill, and then you've got to take off over a bit of a spread and over a big brush and land in water. Then you've got to turn and come up the ramp, which is always it's about 1 stride out of the water to this bullhead, this incredible thing that Bert Wood, the builder here, carved himself with a chainsaw. It looks fantastic, but it's because it's up a ramp. The striding isn't quite so important because it's uphill. Horses have their hind legs under them, and they should jump it well. So you could be tempted to think it's a bit of a let up, this water, but anything could go wrong with water, and as soon as the riders get complacent, things go wrong. So I think they still need to concentrate, and this is quite upright and quite solid, and if they get the stride wrong here and they're rushing, chasing the clock, then it wouldn't take much to leave a leg and be tipped out the side door.
That's right. We've come up the hill to what used to be the vendors area, actually, and this is one of our signature fences from our sponsors. We have so many terrific sponsors here at Galway, and in fact, DCH Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Temecula is the sponsor of this fence. And you have created something that looks like a gate, a rustic natural gate, but you've included a lot of frangible technology on this turning question of gates up here.
Yeah, it's getting towards the end of the course, and they've come running up the bank to the top of the berm here, and so I put a vertical fence, and because of the frangible pins, it's very difficult to make a fence completely vertical. It tends to be a sort of ascending, and so what I've done here, or what I got Bert wood the builder to do. We put the top pole is on frangible pins. So if the pins break, this whole frame drops to the ground. So these two poles are connected and they're fixed together, top and bottom. Now the only problem is that's screwed in at the top, so the whole thing drops. But if a horse put its leg through, we can't have the bottom screwed in. So we've done an overlap of wood there, and Bert's drilled a hole and put a little wooden dowel in. So the little dowel will snap if a horse gets its leg caught in there, and that bottom pole will drop away. So the whole thing collapses. But if they just hit the top, then the whole frame drops, and then they just have to pick it up for the next horse and repin it. But it's, you know, you got to be thinking about what ifs in this sport, and you know, so we want to be one step ahead and sort of anticipate any problems. I'm not foreseeing any problems, he says, touching wood, but you know, you've got to be thinking about it, and so this can completely collapse in different ways if it needs to. So it makes the whole thing much safer.
So they're up the hill, bending line, turn, down the hill, and then off to our third water complex, I think.
Yep, third and final water complex. But for me, this A part here will jump quite well. It's all about the balance and the turn, and do the horses have enough energy left at this stage in the course to be accurate and pop over the vertical with a downhill landing. And if riders get a little bit hurried and start angling or rushing the horse, you know, then the B element will be the one that catches them out. But I would hope the riders will have enough respect. Although the fences are technically frangible, riders don't ride them as though they're going to be knocked down fences. If they do knock one down and get away with it, it's 11 penalties. So they can't afford to pick up 11 penalties. So they're going to be accurate here. And the frangible ability of the fence is really just to make it safer. But then they go down the bank and to the final water. And you know, they're not finished yet, but they've got a few decent efforts still to jump.
Absolutely. Well, we've done that signature third water complex up the watery bank that you created. Then they've had that huge big brush drop coming home, and then they swing around and make a nice turn and jump through the keyhole, or the two stars come right through the horseshoe. Beautiful sunny California. How much fun is it for you to come out here and design and just enjoy coming here? The riders love you, Ian. They just love having you come out because what you create and what you produce for them.
Well, it's always a pleasure for me to come here, and you know, I live in Scotland, so sunshine's always good for me. I'm a bit of a hot plant, so really I should never have been in Scotland in the first place. But it's great to come here, and the riders are great to watch, and it's been fun for me to, you know, this is my 9th year, and it's been fun for me to watch the sport develop over here, especially on the west coast of the States. And you know, I used to always say, coming to California, it was a little bit 50 shades of brown, but now we've got green, and it's a bit more like home, and it's spectacular, and you know, it's great. It's lovely to be here again, and I look forward to the competition. It's a bit disappointing we haven't got more riders in the 3-star, but it's quality, not quantity, and I think we've got some lovely horses and good riders, and so I'm looking forward to it. But it's, as always, a pleasure for me to be here.
Yeah. Well, we thank you all for joining us on this course walk. We're looking forward to our competition on Saturday, and kick on.
Exactly. Keep kicking.